Our next guest, a wonderfully funny actress you know from shows like AP Bio and Girls 5 Eva, as well as Pixar's Inside Out franchise. She's also an Emmy-winning writer from her nearly two-decade run on Saturday Night Live. SNL 50, the anniversary special, airs live at 8 p.m. Eastern this Sunday on NBC and Peacock. Please welcome back to the show the best in the biz, our very good friend, Paula Pell, everybody.
That's all anyone needs. That's all anyone needs.
I'm so happy to have
Just a wall of love.
Yeah, it is a love wall. It's a love wall. Can I just say, you have built this love wall.
Oh, God.
With your decades of work in this building, no less.
Well, it's going to be a sentimental week.
It is going to be a sentimental.
Everyone I talk to, we're like, yeah, it's really great. We're going to see and we start. Because there's so many feelings. Obviously, we know, everyone's seen all the documentaries, there's a lot of stuff you talked about in therapy when you were at us.
Yeah. Those documentaries, I felt, was a one free therapy session.
It really
We all got one last trip to the therapist to talk about it.
It really was.
It was funny, too. I don't know how many times you talked to them, but you would say, I don't really remember. And then the minute the camera started rolling, I'll tell you another thing. I'll tell you another time I got slighted.
They also were, they're like, we heard you do an impression of Lorne when he's, farting or something. And it was just all these weird things. And I'm like, I don't think I did that, but we did drink. I mean, we drank before and after we were up there writing. We weren't like some of the other eras.
No, we were, yeah.
We just drank coffee and got really insecure. Yeah. That's what we got.
I think no one, after watching you do that, think you have ever snorted cocaine or done heroin. Just based on the way you mime it.
Right?
They blow it with a fan, and you have to. This is to catch it.
And you catch it like bubbles.
This is very exciting, though. I heard you're working on a memoir about your time at the show.
I do. I have a memoir.
Oh, that's great.
I cannot believe it. I actually finally did it.
Okay. What's it called? Can you hold it up there so we can see it? So it's my nervous diarrhea. And so, tell us a little bit. What's in there?
When you're at SNL, especially every time you have a summer break, everyone goes, I'm writing my book this summer. And it's like, no, you're not. And, or I'm writing a movie, or I'm writing something. Yeah. And I have wanted to do this for so many years, and I can't believe that I finally can hold it, and it's real, and like my mother
can take a look at it?
I'll just show it.
Well, why?
It's called Live from New York. It's my nervous diarrhea.
What are some of the? What are some of the? Paula, what is in here? Pills? What's this?
This is weed from the 80s. Because I can't smoke weed now because it makes me have anxiety. It's too strong.
Okay.
So, and this is the key to my dildo rack. These are pills for when you get, as my grandfather used to call it, the green apple two-step. Or the squirts. You all have it. And then this is a vibrator.
Is this a charger for it?
Yeah. And this is the charger for my vibrator.
That's good.
But I'm going to tell you something. Since you uncovered my lie, I did not write a book yet.
So you have
I want to tell you one thing about this. It's very sentimental. It's been cleaned a million times. Don't worry. But it is so sentimental because I lost it for a while. It was my favorite one, and ladies, and I found it. I mean, I am just so grateful to, on 57th, there's an urgent care, and I finally found it.
Wow, it's amazing. You have
In my beehole.
You have an entire. Wait, that's where they found it?
In my beehole. But I didn't put it in my beehole. I have a lot of little shortcuts in there. I have a weird thing. You'll have to see the X-rays. Hi, Mom.
There's a lot of. Can you tell? For those who don't know, can you share some of the sketches you've worked on over the years?
I did Bobby and Marty, the high school teachers.
Carolyn Gassire.
I did Debbie Downer.
Yep.
I did Bring It On Down to Omeleteville.
Yes.
And Appalachian Emergency Room.
Yes, there we go. I mean, I immediately, I think, recognized what an incredible thing it was to have written something that people wanted to see back.
Yes.
And I looked up to you a great deal. I also looked up to you because you were very honest about how hard the job was and how delirium-inducing it was.
Yes.
Because you would stay very late.
Oh, yeah. I was always the very last one there. Mike Shoemaker used to call me yesterday's sweater because I would come into him and be so coked up, but I wasn't. But if you stay up all night and coffee, and I'd come in and go, we wrote this thing, I want to sing you the song to it. And he'd call me yesterday's sweater because I'm sure I reeked of BO. And the Today Show was already having their concert series.
Yeah.
And everyone was coming in clean clothes and smelling good at NBC. And I'd be in the elevator with them, with a bug crawling out of my bra. And actually, Emily Spivey, who is going to be on your show this week, beloved friend of mine, amazing writer at SNL. She and I were writing one night, and oftentimes one would fall asleep and the other's typing, and then the other one would get up and they'd lay down and we're typing. And I just turned to her, I'm typing, and I said, what is this character's front name? And she goes, what? And I go, what is the character's front name? And she goes, I don't know what you're saying to me. And I go, the front name of the character. We didn't say her front name yet. And she goes, what is a front name? And it was her first name, but I didn't know words. And so for my 60th, I got a little beautiful necklace in the mail that said front name. And then one other time I had a cat who, go figure, a lesbian that has a cat with health problems.
You got one with health problems?
I had a cat that I had to take to a sonogram at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I finished writing, been up 38 hours, a very long-haired cat in this carrier, and I walked across to the vet by my apartment, and I got the sonogram, and then I was like, I gotta have something to eat before I fall asleep for an hour and then come back with full makeup and go to the read-through. And so I put it down, and it was in this fancy little French New York City cafe, and I ordered a bagel, and I was just waiting for it, and I just looked down, and there was this fat cat paw unzipping the carrier, and it came out, and it had a Disney tail, so it went like this, and all the hair was going all over the profiteroles, and I was so delirious that I stood and I went, my cat. And she goes, what? And I go, my cat. And I went, can I go there? Is there holes in the wall? And she was like, I really, honey, it's that, oh God, this woman's struggling. I don't know what you're doing. I crawled back there and grabbed her, and there was hair going everywhere. And there were a lot of insane things that happened.
I have a lot more to ask you about in regards to those insane things. We'll be right back with Paula after this. We're back with Paula Pell, the author of Minor.
It's being sold at Barnes & Nowhere. I just made that up. See how fast I am?
It's on the card. You had it written on a cue card.
That's right.
What about your first week? What was the first idea you wrote down that then was on air?
The first thing I wrote of that week that I remember very much, in the first page of that book, was a commercial parody called Litter Critters.
Okay.
And it was Sherry O'Terry going, my kid's got a cat, but they don't want to clean up after it. And it was a kit where you take the kitty litter, it's molds, and you make animals out of them so the kids can play with the cat crap with the pee. And because, that stuff that gets gunky and you can, shape it when you're really high. And, when you do that? No. And so I did it, and I was writing it, and I just thought, holy crap, I think this might be funny. This could be, because I really loved writing the commercial parodies. I said, this might work. And then it just never got 1 second of attention for a very long time. And every time they'd pick more commercials to make, I'd kind of be like, I wonder if anyone checked out that kitty litter one. But I was so low, like low in the, low rung, but also when I'm new, you wouldn't believe this because I'm such a big loudmouth, but when I'm new, I'm very like, I want people to come to me eventually when they want to. I don't want to go out and like push myself on people. And so I was very not pushing my ideas. And then they made it and it did great. And then I looked around like, you didn't think I had it.
Do you have anything that you loved that either died at the table or died at dress?
Well, one thing James Anderson and I wrote one time.
James is also going to be in the show this week.
Glorious, best friend of mine, like glorious writer, wrote every funny thing you've seen in the last 20 years on the show. He and I wrote, I used to give him old records from like Christian, like family singers, like where there'd be like 8 people in a family thing and they'd sing the song. And I'd get them at the thrift store and they were from like the 70s or 60s and they were really weird looking family that all had like haircut. And we had one, and he had a record player where you could change the speed. And so we did a thing where it was like a special where it's like, and Nanny's coming out, and then Nanny, we'd do it high, so it was like, precious Lord, and it would like, and then we'd do it lower, and here's Uncle So-and-so, precious Lord. And we were crying, and Alec Baldwin was hosting, and we pulled him in, and he was dying laughing, and we were like, this is it, this is a winner, this is a winner. It died so violently at the table. Like when they read it through and the sound wasn't quite timed, it just died. And when you have that like hot face, hot everything, everything was hot.
I think the hot shame I felt at that table is unlike anything I've felt before.
Yes.
Just because you're wasting the time of some of the people you respect the most.
And it took years for me to not feel that way. And what really did is I was long enough there. I mean, I'm sure anyone in their jobs has this experience where you're there long enough to see the people that you look up to screw up. And you go, oh, they screw the pooch sometimes too. That's a terrible saying.
Yeah. As someone who loves animals so much, I'm shocked.
I know. I meant more financially. You screw them over.
Oh, you screw them financially, right?
Like a lease.
You sell them like meme coins and stuff.
Yeah, you talk to me.
You and I, one thing I think
Bitcoin.
we were both very lucky to have in our time of the show was Mike Shoemaker looking out for us.
I wanted to say something about Mike Shoemaker. Whew. Okay, so I got hired. I was absolutely freaking terrified. I thought everyone was going to be from Harvard. I came from theater. I came from like writing, characters of my own that I performed. I was not of the pedigree of like Second City and Groundlings and all that. So I really had and I just worshipped SNL my whole life. And I really was terrified I was going to get there and humiliate myself in a place that I had just absolutely dreamt of being, because I got hired as a writer and I'd never been, a writer except for my own stuff. So I was so scared. About 5 times that week, I had 5 days to come there. They hired me and then I had 5 days to come. And I just was really losing it. And I cried to my mom and I said, I don't think I should do this. I think this is going to end badly. And then I'm going to be ruined with my confidence of doing anything as a performer or a writer or anything. And so I got hired, and that whole week I worried. And then 2 days before I left, I got a phone call. Saturday Night Live is calling, and it was Mike Shoemaker, who I did not know would be one of my favorite humans in the entire world and is the best producer that has ever been on any show ever, ever. And he knew, like he always knew, he knows exactly what every actor or writer needs. He can look at them. He and I are both codependent people, so that's how we know. But like, you just know. It's like, I know this person is feeling embarrassed. I know this person is feeling not good enough. I know this person. And he just knew how to give you ideas, to boost you up. I didn't know that yet because I didn't know the man. I get this call, and he said, hey, it's Mike Shoemaker. I'm going to be your producer, and I just wanted you to talk to somebody. And he put Cindy and Lori on the phone, and they were as scared as me, and they were like, holy crap, I can't believe that I'm doing SNL with you, and we're gonna have so much fun, and we're so scared, and we don't know, we've never, and we just chat, and I just hung up, and my whole body just relaxed, and I said, this is gonna be an adventure, and it was, thanks to that